So today I came across a very touching video, right? I couldn't even touch it by stitching it on TikTok or doing anything on it. I just wanted to talk about it. It was a very sensitive one, right? So this lady was recording herself talking about what she has had to do after finding out that she actually has terminal cancer, right? She's actually taken certain steps just to make sure that at least when she or something happens to her, her family is protected. Now, these are discussions obviously that we don't like to have because no one wants to see themselves in that particular light. But I think when someone is going through such a stage or such terminal illness, they find themselves in that position. And I often say to people, rather do it prior, right? And she was also encouraging that rather you do this prior because sometimes you don't even get the opportunity to sit down and plan. Because she was diagnosed and told what the situation is, she was able now to sit down and plan her affairs because she knows, what the possibilities are, right? But you and I right now, we're not sure. We're still in good health, right? We still have that opportunity. We don't have to wait for such things to happen because sometimes it happens that you don't even get that notification that prepare yourself. You could be going out right now and something could happen to you. That's not exactly what we want to happen, but it's better if you have your plans in order so that even if something like that were to occur, at least your family is protected and can be provided for as much as possible. So I know that was a long introduction, right? But I just wanted to give you context why this video today is so close to my heart because it also hits home for so many reasons, right? So for all of those that are new here, sorry for that long introduction. My name is Yolanda Mnyengeza and I'm an attorney and a director at a law firm here in Gauteng, South Africa. Without further ado, let's talk about these three things that she touched on. Let's go. So one of the first things that she actually said she had to embark on was to meet now an estate planner and attorney to speak with about her affairs and also draft her will, right? So this is very important. Why? If you remember, a will is this document that we write or we draft so that we can just note what our instructions are, what our wishes are, right? Unfortunately, in terms of the law, you can't express those wishes verbally. When you're not there, one of the things that speaks for you is your will. So that's why it's important to always draft the will. And I love the fact that she said before she drafted the will, she went through the estate planning aspect, right? What's estate planning in case you don't know? So estate planning is having someone look over your affairs, right? Just so that they can understand where you stand in terms of assets, in terms of debts, in terms of your overall, estate, so that they can advise you if there's a need to cover certain debts, what you need to put in place or what you need to be thinking about in terms of financial plans, right? Because what happens at times is that people don't take note that they have a lot of debt that could affect the assets that they are leaving behind. So during that session you get that opportunity to speak to someone who can be able to say, you know what, you when you pass away there's an expectation of this amount that your estate will have to pay. So in this instance, because you probably don't have much in cash, you probably should be working on that, right? So they get to advise you on those gaps so that when you pass away, people that you're leaving behind are not in a situation where they have to figure out where to get money. At least you would have made up something. You would have created some form of plan to ensure that if something happens to you, whatever debt you have is going to be secured and you're not going to have an issue. Either you're going to take out certain policies or you're actually going to put money away, whatever the case is. But you're just going to make sure that those gaps are closed so that whatever it is that you believe is an asset and you want as an asset actually gets to your family as an asset and doesn't get to a point where it has to be sold in order for money just to be just to pay for certain things. So that's the purpose of an estate plan. So this is what is important as well for you, right? You can do it even now because also, like I said, a lot of people tend to pass away and they leave a lot of debt, especially when we're young, right? We're starting to take out mortgages. We have cars that we're still financing, and people are so healthy and they're not thinking that something could happen to them. And when it does happen, you'd find that these things are actually not really protected. They're not structured. And as a result, they tend to get lost as soon as they pass away. So this is what estate planning helps you with. So this is the first thing that she actually did, which I always say as well is very important. Let's talk about the second thing that she actually did. And then the second thing that she said she actually did was she collected all of her bank account details, everything pertaining to her, and then she noted it down and made sure that she's keeping every document, everything safe for her husband. This is also a very important aspect of you planning your estate or planning for such an event, right? Why is this so important? Why is it necessary for you to collect all of this information? So remember, when you pass away, people need to know exactly what you had, right? And it's not easy sharing that type of information, sensitive information with people currently. So what you then want to do, just so that people can know and be able to claim, is that you want to collect all of this documentation, all of this information. And this actually includes anything relating to pension funds, anything relating to, policy documents. All of that information, you want to make sure that you've collated it, kept it somewhere so that your family can get access to it. How is the collection of documents going to help them? It's going to make it easy for them to actually make a claim, or it's going to make it easy for them to administer your estate, right? Because they're going to know exactly where you had everything, where you had your investments, where you had your policies, where you had your money. Because now that you're alive, it's not easy to share such sensitive information. So now, as much as you don't want to share this information when you're alive, but you know for a fact that all of this you want your family to inherit. So what better way to ensure that they get access to it rather than keeping this information and documentation collated somewhere so that your family or your people can get access to it easily when you pass away. Listen, I think the hardest thing that I often come across is seeing someone come to me to say, listen, Yolanda, I am so lost. I don't see any money that my mother has left, but I know for a fact that she had, a policy or she had an investment somewhere. This is something we spoke about. But now the problem is this: we don't know where this is located. And when we think about the financial service providers that in South Africa alone, it becomes a big mission to try and get access or locate this kind of money, right? Because sometimes when you're speaking to the financial service providers, they will say, what was what do you call the number, the policy number, or whatever the case is. They want something that identifies, this amount of money. And normally, because the person didn't share that with you, the person wouldn't know. They're like, I don't know, but I do have a name. And then some of the service providers will be like, unfortunately, we can't help look for it. So when you can keep these documents, it's going to make it easier for them to locate these assets. Like, this is something that I talk about a lot. For instance, currently in South Africa, there's a lot of money sitting in pension funds in billions of rands. Not that the people who are meant to receive or are beneficiaries of those monies probably are not alive, but the biggest issue is that there is a huge number of those people who don't know that they're entitled to such amount of money, and it's sitting there. And there's also a lot of this kind of money sitting in investments and also in the guardians fund, right? People don't know. You never said anything. And also, when you pass away, the documents were not there. They couldn't get access to them. I mean, because of this, we even sourced a solution that we utilize, right, at our firm, where you can get, a place where you can store your documents. When you're alive, only you can get access to it. And then when you pass away, your beneficiary then gets access to all of that information, all of that documentation. This then makes it easier for your children, for your family to get access to everything that you've worked for. Guys, I would lie to you, there's a lot in billions sitting out there that people can't claim for because they don't know. Others know or have this idea, but they don't know where to start because they don't even know the institution, because their parent or whoever it is that they lost was so private. And we can't blame them, hey? But you want your people to get access to this information. So make sure that you collate everything that is sensitive, all of that information, especially for people that have things like crypto assets as well. Crypto assets are the most, you could say, protected assets that I know digitally, because with money sitting in the bank, you can always just utilize certain documentation and the bank will release the money, into the estate of the deceased. But when it comes to things like your cryptocurrency, It's sitting in a wallet. It's literally, you need certain, the exact information to access that wallet. If you don't have that, the actual information, no one can access, or it becomes extremely difficult. Last I checked, it's impossible to access it without that digital number. And as a result, a lot of people then tend to lose those financial assets. So these are things that you just need to think about, and plan for, and make sure that at least they are collated somewhere private, so that your family at least can get access to them. Let's go to the third thing. And then the third thing that she was talking about, and I think this one is also very important and very sensitive, right? She was talking about the fact that she had to write down now what her wishes were, in case her health goes sideways, gets extremely bad, what her wishes were. Is she willing to stay on the machine, or if there's a necessity, what kind of machinery, what kind of living does she want? Does she want to be resuscitated under certain conditions? So she was thinking and talking about that. She said she had to sort out that, because things could get complicated. And this is something that you and I also need to think about as well, which I always talk about, is having a living will, something that's going to be your mouthpiece when you can't talk. Right? Sometimes you'll have a very bad accident. You can't speak for yourself, but you probably have wishes as to how you want to be treated, and under what circumstances you'd like to live, and under what circumstances you'd like to be resuscitated, or what options you want available in case you are in a certain situation, right? So when you don't have such a living will, right, what tends to happen is the fact that your family sometimes will squabble about whether or not they should do something for you. And when you're married and you also have a family, sometimes people don't see eye to eye. The other one is saying, listen, I want them to be kept on this, but another one is saying, let's release this person because the pain they're feeling, or because of the way in which they're going to live, it's not going to be all right with them. I know them. So you run away from all of these issues. You make sure that you minimize such issues, because already you have your own wishes. People are not going to be saying, I know what my son wanted, I know what my husband wanted. At least it is clear. You would have stated it yourself, right? This is very helpful. For instance, some people often blame families when they are kept in a certain state, right? Or they're given a certain treatment, and as a result, they tend to live in a certain way. They blame the family members. Why didn't you take this, or why didn't you do that? Because of the decisions that the family made, and the family made it on the best interest, but sometimes it could end up contravening what they really have in mind, or what you really have in mind about the way in which you'd like to live, and under what circumstances, and the type of treatment that you'd like to receive. So this is very important for you just to think about, and I love the fact that she was also talking about it. So those are the three things, guys, that I say also are very important. Don't wait for a situation where you are now in a dire situation and now you have to start thinking about these. These are also stressful to think about, or to start preparing for when you're at that point, or when you're at that situation. And then again, as I said, it's sometimes you won't get the opportunity, to be told that, listen, you need to prepare yourself. Something could happen very abruptly, and as a result, you could end up being in such a situation. Whatever happens, at least you want your family to be taken care of, and their affairs, to not be disrupted by you not being there, right? So this brings us to the end of our discussion today, and I hope this is going to be helpful to you, or to anybody else that you know. As we always say, if you did like this video, just leave a thumbs up, share it, and come back, because we have such information sharing discussions just so that we can help each other and help others understand how the law operates, and the important things to think about, right? So, like I said, my name is Yolanda Mnyengeza, and I'm an attorney and a director at a law firm in Johannesburg called Mnyengeza Attorneys. I will see you next time.